We have price hikes, we have the gaming media collapsing, we have free games, and we also have a bunch of other interesting stories to go over today. But before we do continue, if you enjoy daily gaming news, staying up to date on everything happening within the gaming industry, make sure to hit the subscribe button, share the video, like the video, helps my channel grow, and I would really appreciate it. But for now, let's jump into it. So yesterday we had the huge announcement of the Xbox price hikes. I have a separate video going more in depth of my thoughts on that coming, so stay tuned for that. But basically what there is to know is that Xbox is raising the prices of their consoles, their accessories, and they are preparing to start selling their first party games at the $80 that we first saw with the announcement of the Nintendo Switch 2. But this could just be the beginning of the price hikes for the industries. This isn't stopping anytime soon, with so many different reasonings playing into why this is happening, from the global economy to the tariffs to the corporate greed. I think all of these things have some of a role into what is going on here. And an industry analyst says here that this is just the beginning. We are going to be getting more price hikes in the future. This here comes via Daniel Ahmad of Nico Partners, explaining the reasons behind the Xbox price hike, pointing out that Sony will be impacted by these same tariffs, and even Nintendo could be forced to raise prices at some point if things take a turn. This is his tweet. It's pretty interesting. He says, Xbox is increasing prices globally. This is due to Trump's tariffs and the global macroeconomic environment. And here is why. Before I get into it, there is this entire discussion that people keep going back and forth about whether it is tariffs, whether it is inflation, and then calling out people who say it's one of these things or the other, or is it just only corporate greed? The reality is it's absolutely all of these things. So I think the whole discussion surrounding that is kind of ridiculous if you can't take a step back and see that there's so many different things in play here. And there's a reason that why we are where we are with the prices of video games and consoles. And it isn't just one singular reason why things are going up. But here is what Daniel Ahmad says. He says Xbox consoles are manufactured in China and subject to a 145% tariff when entering the US. And you can see the price increases from the old prices to the new prices. They're exorbitant. They are absolutely not worth it at this point. But again, I'll talk about it in my video coming up about this, just my deeper thoughts on what is going on here. It says the global price increases are often to soften the actual price increase in the US, which is Xbox's largest market, as well as due to currency fluctuations. Packaged games are increasing from $70 to $80 for this same reason, and because they're partially made in Mexico. And then 4, I need to stress what you're seeing here is just the beginning. Sony will be impacted by the same tariffs, and we've already seen them raise prices elsewhere to offset the impact. Nintendo did not raise prices as it's manufacturing in Vietnam, but could if tariffs increase. And that is what is going on here. Overall, this person also says, looks like a 30% in very rough calculations price hike, but applied globally is what Daniel Ahmad's responses here, because the prices are going up, and they are going up not just in the United States, but they are also going up all around the world. And a lot of discussion, a lot of questions as to why prices raise in certain spots and everything, but tariffs do affect the global supply chain. It doesn't matter if the thing that is being sold is not in the United States. It's overall going to cost them more to manufacture these things because of everything that is happening with the global economy. And you can absolutely argue here that Xbox is just being greedy, a corporate greed move here. They're using this as an excuse in order to raise the prices so that even when these tariffs go away, if they go away, they're going to be able to make this the new baseline for pricing going forward. But this was the major story actually that everybody was talking about. And I have another video just going over the price raises, what my thoughts are and everything about this entire situation coming out. All right, let's jump over here. Let's talk about something that we talked about on the other video the other day, and it was shadow drops and how they have affected some indie publishers because of a massive game like Oblivion Remastered dropping the same day that a smaller unknown game releases. It's obviously going to take players away from even knowing about that unknown game, but a game that has not been affected by this at all. In fact, maybe I've even seen somewhat of a crossover / boost from the shadow drop of Oblivion has been Clair Obscur Expedition 33, which is an absolutely phenomenal game. We have this here from thegamebusiness.com saying 35% of Expedition 33 players who also played Oblivion, they say there was a significant overlap between players of Clair Obscur Expedition 33 and the Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion. Ampere data has revealed 35% of Expedition 33 players also played Oblivion, according to this data. And this is primarily due to the Xbox edition, with 55% of Xbox Expedition 33 players also engaging with Oblivion. And you can definitely see that this is because both of these games were available in Xbox Game Pass. And to me, that makes a ton of sense. Even for myself, would I have been playing both of them right now? Would I have picked up both of those games day one if they weren't in Xbox Game Pass? No, I probably would have only picked up one of them, played that for a relatively long time, waited for the other one to drop in price, and then would have picked up that one as well, because both games I want to play. But now, since they're both in Game Pass, I'm going back and forth between them. So shadow drops don't always have a negative effect. When it comes to a game that's highly anticipated, a game that has great reviews and everybody is talking about, can actually have that crossover effect where people are going and checking it out because they're fans of that genre, that style, an RPG. All of those things can play into effect here. So pretty cool stuff there. Expedition 33 absolutely deserves it. I was worried for a second that the Oblivion remaster would affect it, and it hasn't. And that's good, because this is a phenomenal game that I can't wait to get more of, a sequel, DLC in the future, and anything else in this world. As I just finished Act 1, and at the end of Act 1, my goodness, if you haven't played it yet, some of the best storytelling I've seen in a video game in a very, very long time. All right, the games media. I know some people will cheer this on, some people will be happy, but it seems like the traditional games media is seemingly collapsing at this point, as many of these publications are going away and a lot of people are losing their jobs. We had two big announcements yesterday. First of all, Polygon. They have been sold off, and there are massive layoffs now hitting the outlet. This says here, as first reported by Kotaku, Polygon has been sold by Vox Media to Valnet, and Valnet is the same parent company of other outlets such as The Gamer and Game Rant. And they say here that after the report went live, many staff members of Polygon took to social media to announce that they were no longer with the company. First of all, we have this here from Nicole Carpenter saying, "I'll say more later, but I no longer have a job." And Nicole was a senior reporter saying, "I'm looking for work, as are so many of my amazing colleagues. I have lots of ideas and things I'd like to write. I'm really in shock." And then you have the outlet's co-founder and editor-in-chief Chris Plante saying, "I'm no longer with Polygon. If you're hiring, please consider the many talented writers and editors now on the market." So we don't know how many people did get laid off, but it seems as if Polygon is basically collapsing or completely changing under this sale under Valnet. And not shocking because there's a lot of decrease in just overall traffic and views to a lot of these main huge websites that I grew up with, that a lot of people grew up with. These were the staple names in video games industry and the video game journalism on the internet and everything. But obviously with things like YouTube and just independent media, it is a lot harder for these bigger companies to continue to be at the top, as there's so much competition, and a lot of people like YouTubers better than they like the big Polygons and Kotakus, and that's just a fact of the matter. So you're going to see more of this stuff, I think, happening. And we have more here. Giant Bomb. They say fandom blows up Giant Bomb. This is another big thing that just came out yesterday in the gaming media. Say Giant Bomb's future is uncertain following a showdown with parent company Fandom, which also owns GameSpot, over editorial interference. Creative director Dan Rickard announced on a recent live stream that he would no longer be appearing on the Giant Bomb cast, and co-host Jeff Grubb confirmed on social media on Thursday that he's no longer with the company, and Giant Bomb content is currently on hold while Fandom engages in a strategic reset and realignment of our media brands. That is what they did confirm here to Kotaku. So something happened, and editorial interference of some sort. They did not like the direction that Giant Bomb was going. They probably were looking at their traffic numbers, listeners, all of those types of things, and they had to make a change. And there's a huge thing here happening. I know Giant Bomb and their podcast and everything I thought was relatively popular. A lot of people did like it, but clearly that wasn't the case right now, as there is a big change here. And we don't know what's going to come out of this. Or maybe on the other side, it could have just been somebody in here wanting to make this change, even if their numbers were relatively decent. Who knows? But I'm sure we will get more information as time does go on. In fact, we have this here. They say, well, that was a dream come true. Knew it wouldn't last, though. This is what Jeff Grubb is saying after he had joined Giant Bomb in 2022. And he says, out of a job at the moment, but I'll always be doing game mess. And we also have Mike Minotti here saying, needless to say, I will no longer be contributing to Giant Bomb. And then goes on here to say nothing but love to all of the wonderful people from there and GameSpot. Jeff was a workhorse and a hero for the way he shouldered so much responsibility there. And I am furious with the way execs treated him. So obviously Jeff and Mike, they do their Games Best podcast. I listen to that one all the time. I think they do a great job. Something happened here, obviously, and they are no longer contributing to Giant Bomb. So this is another massive change in the journalism side of things. And then we have this, a spokesperson for fandom spoke to Kotaku in an email saying, as you know, we've temporarily paused Giant Bomb live streaming, and that content is currently available on demand for our audience. We understand this programming pause isn't ideal for our audience, but it's part of a strategic reset and realignment of our media brands. We have some creative ideas for the future of Giant Bomb that we're actively working on that we'll be able to communicate more about soon. So they're going to try to come back. They're going to try to change things up and I guess salvage whatever is still salvageable there. And we'll see what happens. It's unfortunate. It's always sad to see people losing their jobs and the collapse of this stuff, because I know a lot of people will cheer this on. And I'm not the biggest fan of these mainstream media, journalist, gaming sites and stuff. I think there's a lot of stuff that I disagree with what they do and how they report stuff. But there is definitely a good side of it. There's definitely good people who produce good things at these websites. It's not just all bad, as some people try to make it out to be. So it's always unfortunate to see bad things happen to the good ones that are working at these major websites. All right, let's jump over here. The next Halo, there is another Halo game coming out. There could be multiple projects. We have a bit more information as to kind of who could be leading this stuff. And it looks like Forge Lord is going to be confirmed here to be leading. Michael Shore will be leading a project there. This is from Rebs Gaming saying, Forge Lord confirmed he's the lead designer of the new Halo game and not on Halo Infinite's development team anymore. Also, in response to the chances of adding playable elites to Infinite, he says playable elites seem to be a rather heavy lift in terms of dev costs. So looks like that's not happening, but he is now leading another Halo project. He tweeted this out or blue skied this out saying, I'm not on the Infinite team and am not privy to their future plans. So I don't know what the chances are. I will say that from my seat, playable elites in Infinite has always seemed to be rather heavy lift in terms of the dev cost. So yeah, just repeating what he had written there, but he is now ahead of a new game. Whether this is a spin-off, could this be the remake and stuff that we've been hearing a lot about? Could this be a new entry into the series? Could this be a smaller side project? I think with Halo moving over to Unreal Engine 5, with the whole rebranding now of Halo Studios, we're going to see multiple Halo games. It's not just going to be one main game every few years. I think we're going to see spin-offs and smaller titles like we used to see back on the Xbox 360 days, in his glory days with like ODST, Halo Reach, Halo 3. I think we're going to hopefully get back to that era of Halo where we get more stories in the universe, because there are so many stories that can be told. That's what my fingers are crossed for here going forward. All right, we talked about price increases, but there are many other ways to get games for cheap. In fact, Amazon Prime Gaming, they are giving away 23 free games for May, which include Lego Star Wars, The Complete Saga, and other free Xbox games here. It's actually a pretty good list. I mean, if you just like playing video games, you don't always have to be up to date on the newest stuff that comes out all the time. There's always stuff like this to be able to jump into. I always claim as many of these as I can. Whether I play them or get to them anytime soon is a different question, but I do claim them to have them in my catalog. There's a lot of games here. I'll just quickly read through them, and you can check off whether you want to go get them or not. But a lot of them are available via GOG, the Xbox Games app, the Microsoft Store, Epic Games Store. So they're available at different places. But Right now, you have Star Wars Galactic Battleground Saga, Lego Star Wars The Complete Saga, Styx Master of Shadows, and then The Invisible Hand. Those are available right now. On May 8th, Wolfenstein 2, The New Colossus Digital Deluxe Edition, Amnesia Rebirth, Hypnospace Outlaw, Doors Paradox. On May 15th, Saints Row Get Out of Hell, Endless Legends Definitive Edition, Golf with Your Friends, Legacy of Kain Blood Omen 2, and Mail Time. May 22nd, Fate, Thief 2, The Metal Age, Everdream Valley, Chessarama, The Lost Ashford Ring, and then on May 29th, Samurai Bringer, Trinity Fusion, Master Plan Tycoon, Liberty, and Jennifer Wilde's Unlikely Revolutionary. So those are all the free games. I know for me, like the Lego Star Wars stuff is cool. I will definitely claim. Star Wars Galactic Battlegrounds, I'll claim. Wolfenstein 2, phenomenal. Go claim that one. Saints Row Get Out of Hell, I'd be interested in. Legacy of Kain Blood Omen 2, definitely will be interested in. So those are the ones that right off of the bat, I will eventually end up playing. I've played them before, but at least have them in my library in case I want to jump back in on PC. So cool stuff there coming from Amazon Prime Gaming. Always free games that they do deliver with their Prime subscription. Oblivion Remastered, it got shadow dropped, and one of the things that everyone was asking about was Skyblivion, the mod team that is making a remaster of Oblivion in the Skyrim engine with the Skyrim mod and everything. Well, it looks like the team here behind Oblivion Remastered have actually shook hands with them, and they've called them out and said that they're excited for Skyblivion, probably hoping to give them a boost so that people still go out and check it. I think that they still will. If you're a huge fan of the series, you'll probably still go out and check Skyblivion. But we have this here. During the Bethesda Games Studio Developer Spotlight, the video here had Dan Lee, the development lead on Bethesda's creations, curating DLC mod program and the art director for Oblivion Remastered. He had this to say for Skyblivion. Says, even though I worked on the Oblivion Remastered, I'm still excited for Skyblivion. I think that what they're doing is very special, and I'm excited to see their interpretation of what we've done in the past, and I think it's a great year for Oblivion fans. So it's a nice little shout out there for the Skyblivion devs who also took a moment to respond on social media saying, Dan, we're just as excited to get Skyblivion into your hands this year as you are to play it. Thanks for the shout out and kind words. You said it best. It's a great year for Oblivion fans. Ever since the Oblivion Remastered dropped and everything and was announced, the Skyblivion team came out and was basically like, that's great. There, you can play both. And it's good that we have both out there because the hardcore fans of this game are going to go and play Skyblivion. I don't think the Oblivion Remastered is going to turn people off from going and trying out Skyblivion. The people who were not hardcore or weren't even interested in Skyblivion in the first place and are now playing the Oblivion Remastered, I don't think anything changes. They probably still wouldn't have played Skyblivion if the Oblivion Remastered dropped. So hopefully everything works out and people do go ahead and still check that out because it does look very, very cool. And finally, a big revelation here, a big breakthrough in potentially being able to get Game Pass in an app in the future. And this is because Epic here, they have offered an olive branch to Apple, offering to bring back Fortnite to iOS after the recent court ruling that goes in favor of Epic, will go in favor of Xbox as well on the Apple App Store and everything. But it says here, US judges ordered Apple to remove its restrictions around alternative payment methods, prompting Epic Games to offer dropping its longtime litigation and bring Fortnite back to iOS devices. On Wednesday, Judge Yvonne Gonzalez Rogers ordered Apple to stop forcing a 27% commission on purchases made for iOS games and apps through web links, which developers have been using to avoid its store payment charges. And then you had Tim Sweeney here coming out and saying, we were one of Apple's best partners for more than a decade. From the point we released Infinity Blade for iOS and did amazing Unreal Engine support right up until we started fighting them in 2020, a good decade of awesome partnership. We hope with the now law being classified and Apple's legal obligations under these consumer protection laws being clear, and now with Apple being forced by the court to adhere to them, that hopefully we can put our dispute to rest. I've been fighting Apple for a long time, but I'm an iPhone customer. This is an awesome device. I love having it. I don't love the politics that Apple has made with respect to stores, but there's a lot of respect of Epic towards Apple's quality of product and focus. I hold out hope that there's a way for Apple to get back on the right side of history history here, I think this is a great time for Apple to consider that. So they are trying to make them edgier and building that bridge back between them. And if this does occur and everything works out, I think this also is a road for Xbox to get a Game Pass app or put Game Pass games into the Xbox app rather than having to go to the browser. Because if you remember, they couldn't put Game Pass on iOS via an app because they would have to classify every single game within the app, have it rated, and all this crazy stuff that Apple was trying to put out there. And maybe this does end up solving these problems, and we can have just nice streamlined applications across all of the platforms, all of the devices, where you just go into it and you load up your games with none of this nonsense that is happening. But on the video there, guys, if you did enjoy this video, make sure to hit that thumbs up. If you are new here, hit that subscribe, and I will catch you guys in the next video.